about this legislation and about the Morrison government's reckless attempt to pretend that it's doing something to protect the environment whilst actually weakening protection laws. I mean, we know in this country that 10 species were gazetted as extinct under the EPBC Act in March of this year. 10 species. If that doesn't cause every single member of this chamber to have concern, then I don't know what would. Our iconic koala is under significant threat. And as I will talk about later in this speech, the Great Barrier Reef, one of the 7 wonders of the world, something that every single person in Australia, no matter where they live, identifies as a glorious environmental crown or jewel in the crown for Australia, is endangered and has been for way too long. As the Shadow Minister said in her contribution to this debate, Australia is a world leader in mammal extinctions. Not something you'd ever want to be a world leader in, is it? We're in a biodiversity crisis. No, Australians have seen the impact of those terrible, fatal bushfires last year. Australians know what is happening to this country as a result of climate change. And day after day, week after week, Australians have to hear about iconic Australian Indigenous animals and plants becoming extinct. You know, it's something that we've all been so proud of and taught to be so proud of, is all of the animals that we have in Australia that are ours, and nowhere in the world has them. And yet, under this government, more and more of them are becoming extinct, and what we are presented, which we're supposed to believe will protect them, is legislation which isn't even a handkerchief of coverage at this government's failure to act and act properly. It's extraordinary how many times the Morrison government commissions independent reviews and reports and then refuses to implement their recommendations over and over again. And what we also see is this pretend attempt to say that they're implementing recommendations, and then when we look at the detail, they just aren't. It's all trickery, and it's not good enough. And Australians know it's not good enough. I mean, how can it possibly be that we have people in our country at the moment who are concerned that their grandchildren are never going to be able to see a live koala in the bush? I mean, it was just recently that in my community in Langwarrin, which is an outer suburban community, we had koalas in the gum trees. Imagine if that can never happen again. This government should be working day and night on recovery plans, but they really don't seem to be. They're more concerned about personal leadership, about spin, about how they might pretend to Australians that they're leading when they're not. And we can't have much more of this in this country if we want to have a future where the state of decline of our wonderful, unique environment is halted. That's what we all want, but it's not what this legislation will do. I note the time, Deputy Speaker. I'll continue my remarks after 90 seconds.
It being 1:30 p.m, the debate is interrupted in accordance with standard